I just came back from seeing Infinity War. I have to say that prior to, I would say, Captain America Winter Soldier, I really wasn't very deeply enthralled by any of the Marvel films, but over time I got more and more drawn into them. In fact, there's a couple of films I still haven't seen. Like, I did watch snippets of Thor Ragnarok on YouTube, and I still haven't seen Doctor Strange. But eventually I'll get a chance to see both of those films because for whatever reason I just didn't feel like going to the theater to see them. So Thanos, just like the Winter Soldier and just like Killmonger in the movie Black Panther, Marvel's been doing a pretty good job of creating sympathetic characters. And I think with Thanos, it was probably a little bit more difficult because Thanos is a CGI character who is basically fully realized using motion capture and whatnot. And most of the time I was watching the screen, it was like, I knew Thanos as a character wasn't real, but they did a good job with Josh Brolin. They did a pretty good job making him feel like a real character. And as for a lot of the parents who bring their kids to see this film, it's like even if they didn't really watch these movies, except for like maybe Black Panther or maybe Captain America, this movie gives enough exposition and enough backstory so that even if you didn't really care that much about the characters, by this film you actually will care about most of the characters by the end. And personally, I really liked the movie, and it gave me like a little bit more respect for Thanos, which, it's kind of funny because it's like at this point, all of the most negative, evil characters at this point, they're all basically the stars of the show. And with Killmonger and Black Panther, that pretty much made it evident to me that we've reached a point where the heroes aren't enough for us anymore. It's like at this point, we're rooting for the sociopath. They make these people such empathetic and sympathetic characters that eventually you find yourself liking the bad guy more than the good guys. Because the thing about it is the movie pretty much ended exactly how I expected it to end. And, I try to avoid spoilers and whatnot, but ultimately this, the plot's already online, like Wikipedia has it, and I'm pretty sure a lot of people have probably already seen it, and some people are probably watching this after having seen it. But ultimately, I knew it was going to end on a cliffhanger probably by about the middle of the movie, because the thing about it is, Thanos was basically on a roll. It was like nobody could stop him. And I figured that it was going to end pretty much exactly the way it ended. So without saying more, what I will say is I saw the film. Some of it was kind of exhausting. And I heard somebody actually say that who was like a professional reviewer. He said like at a certain point he got exhausted. It was like the characters, some of their actions were illogical in my opinion. You probably know what I'm talking about if you saw the film. I felt Doctor Strange and I felt Maximoff's actions were a bit illogical because they knew what was at stake. And they did what they had to do at a certain point. But I really think that at a certain point, the movie kind of started wearing a little thin at a certain point. However, it kind of avoided, it avoided being bad in that it kind of gave you like a Game of Thrones style ending where at least for the moment the bad person or the bad guy or the villain, they're overcoming all of the obstacles and the odds and whatnot. So, I'm trying to avoid spoilers or whatever while I say that. But yeah, I saw the film. We liked it. It was pretty good. And obviously, just as they've basically made a chain of these movies, it's like every single Marvel character is going to get their own movie and their own exposition, just like every single DC character, which, makes me wonder, okay, how long are they going to wait till they make the next movie, Infinity War 2 or whatever? And it also makes me wonder about DC and how they're going to do with the next Justice League, because to tell you the truth, I think I'm not the only first of all, I felt, what was it? I felt Batman versus Superman sucked. It had some great action scenes, but the problem is the draw-in was just too poorly done. It was certainly nowhere near as well put together, I would say, as Dark Knight and Dark Knight Rises. And I'll also say that even in those movies, there was so much going on that the movies really felt jumbled. But I have to say, Justice League really, really, really sucked. Batman versus Superman was bad, could have been better, but Justice League really, really sucked. And Steppenwolf was a shitty person to send as your main supervillain for the movie. And I was hoping Darkseid would get there so that you could have the Darkseid battle, which I guess they're gonna have to do in the next installment. But it's amazing that at this point, Hollywood is so dry and out of ideas that the only thing they've got now is just a bunch of superhero films. So it's like they can make a dozen Spider-Mans, they'll make a bunch of more Hulks, they'll make every single Marvel character. Because you know, if you saw the movie, you know what I'm talking about. Captain Marvel is probably going to get her own movie because most people who don't pay attention to the comics, they have no idea who Captain Marvel is. At a certain point in the movie, I'm not going to say when, they showed Captain Marvel's sign. A lot of people had no idea what Captain Marvel's sign looked like, and they had no idea who it was. So there was some people in the theater who knew, but there were a lot of people who absolutely didn't know. So absolutely, you already know Captain Marvel's going to get a movie. I don't know how long it'll be. It may be a year from now, maybe less, but Captain Marvel's getting a movie. And to tell you the truth, I really don't know Captain Marvel that well either. In fact, when I heard somebody say, oh, it's Captain Marvel's sign, I really thought they were talking about Shazam. But, you know, I know Shazam's DC and whatnot, but it's like, I'm pretty sure it's coming. And anybody else in this film who didn't have a movie already is definitely getting a movie at this point. So, yeah, that's all I wanted to say. Avengers Infinity War was definitely worth the money. I spent fucking $30. I think it was more than that. It was like $30 on 2 tickets, and the shit wasn't even fucking 3D. So, you know, they more than made up for what I spent in explosions and bullets fired and laser cannons shot and all that. They pretty much made up for it. And they, you know, they promised you a big show, and that's exactly what they gave you. So, you know, there's a lot of YouTubers. They're going to be beating this dead. They're going to be beating the dead horse like all week, maybe for all month about this movie. Oh my goodness, it was so big. It was so great. It was so big. It was this, that, and other. They're going to sound like Trump supporters, basically. But, I mean, I liked it and everything. There were certain directions in there that I might have changed a little bit or tweaked. Because one of the problems that I had in this film was like when we were watching it, it was really hard to hear certain people saying things. Like, for instance, like somebody would say something, the audience would laugh, and then the next thing that was said was like mumbled. And the problem is the audience is still laughing. I couldn't hear it. I don't know how many other people can relate to that if they watch that film today. But there were certain parts of the film, it was like I couldn't even understand what was going on or what was being said beyond the visual, because the problem was it was like garbled out by the background ambience. So you might know what I'm talking about. When the people started laughing, there were certain things that I just couldn't hear, and it was like mumbled. I was looking for trying to read their lips and everything. It's really hard to do. So I'd almost have to watch this at home on DVD just to be able to say that I actually experienced the entire movie. And, you know, the effects and everything, it was pretty much all CGI, which, you know, it was like, it worked. It was just at a certain point. It was, a lot of the things in there were like a bit much. Like, I actually really appreciated watching Captain America, the Winter Soldier, and I also appreciated Black Panther, because even though like the backdrops and everything was CGI, a lot of the movie's best parts came down to the moments when you had individuals just acting, and no explosions, no bullets, no lasers, no flying anything. It was just, the best parts I felt of the movie were when you just had people just acting and just interacting with each other. And perhaps I'm old school because, you know, I was born in the 80s, so, you know, maybe I prefer it when I see good acting. I know what good acting looks like. I don't have to see the CGI all the time. I don't have to see a million explosions going off. I don't have to wonder, well, how the hell is he reloading a grenade launcher out of his back? I don't have to worry about stuff like that because it's just acting. And, you know, with Thanos, with Killmonger, with Ultron, A lot of the best moments in the film just came down to when they were just talking. And those were the moments I really appreciated.